My name's Eli Harrell. I'm from the US, lived in Georgia about 30 years, and been in the Philippines for almost 10. Been here, I was in Cebu for 9 years, and then here in the DUMAGUETE area for almost 1 year now. Haven't been back to the US since 2017 right now, so yeah, just a few times back. A little bit of international travel in the meantime, but mostly just here.
What initially brought you to the Philippines and what made you decide to stay here?
So in 2013, I came here for kind of a business opportunity. I was working with a company from the US that was opening a few markets in Asia, and a friend of mine that was also working with that company invited me to go to Manila with him, and I said sure. I had just sold a couple of companies in the US before that, and I ended up just kind of really liking the vibe. I thought the economy felt very vibrant and people were hungry to learn, and I felt like I could learn a lot also, and maybe be more impactful here. Like maybe I could help more people here. And then my kids at the time were 8 and 6, and I also really wanted them not to just grow up in the US. I wanted them to see the world from a bit more of an international perspective. So we moved here for 1 year at the time, but didn't really want to go back after that first year, even though that first business that I came here for didn't really work out. Just didn't want to go back. I was having too much fun and learning a lot, and honestly, like the complainy, entitled culture in the US just didn't feel like something I wanted to go back to. Didn't expect to be here for 10 years, but now it's home.
And did you have prior knowledge of the Philippines before working with this company, or what were your impressions of the Philippines prior to coming here?
Very little. Probably I might have had a little bit more international awareness than most Americans, maybe. I lived in Japan for 3 months when I was 19. I hadn't really done that much international travel, but honestly, like Philippines, just almost knew nothing. Very, very little information in my mind before I actually came here.
And what were your first impressions when you arrived in the Philippines, and how those impressions changed over the years?
They changed a lot. First impression, was Manila, just chaos and overwhelm. And at first it was just like hit me in the face, and it's hot, and it was like so much traffic and jeepneys and exhaust and dirty Makati. Like it was weird at first, but and then there's like other parts of the first impression, like wow, the service is so much better here. People are so much more friendly. They're so much more like just hospitable. But yeah, the more I got to know the place, things kind of flip-flopped, and I got used to the chaos, and kind of came to love lots of the things about the Philippines that I originally didn't like, and then some of the things that I thought I liked, I found out weren't actually what I thought they were. So my perspectives have changed quite a bit. Yeah, as you learn more, you go deeper. Like things really changed.
Could you elaborate on things that
Examples?
you didn't like about the Philippines and
The beginning?
the things that you like about here?
There's a lot, but I guess just a few. From the very beginning, if I go back to like the first impressions, I mean, at first it was just overwhelmingly hot. And then, over time I just kind of got used to the climate, and I rarely feel that hot anymore. After I came to Cebu, so I spent maybe a month or two in Manila, but then I decided to, when we transferred here to Cebu, traffic seemed ridiculous at first, how you couldn't, I thought I'd look at a map and think I could go a couple kilometers in a few minutes, and it would take an hour, and that was weird. But learned how to ride a motorcycle in the traffic, and once I did that, it became much less of a big deal, much less frustrating. Yeah, I mean, I think Southeast Asia in general, just there's a lot of things that are very different from like the US. For example, at first it felt very strange how close people stand, or you're in a Jeep and there's people sitting on your lap. It's very strange at first, because in the US we have this kind of personal space, but here it doesn't exist. Or you're standing in line in 7-Eleven and people just go straight up to the counter in front of you, like, what? So a lot of things that were a bit off-putting in the beginning that I just started to get used to and realize, it's just my programming for what I'm used to, and I had to sort of just try to let go of. And I think that's one big thing about international travel, especially if you're going to stay in a place, is be conscious of when you're bringing your perspective on the way things should be, because it's just what you're used to, and then you're expecting the place you go to be the way it was. It's just not going to be. It's going to be different. So just learning how to accept that. And then I guess an example on the opposite side would be, I thought the service was better because people just seem like friendlier, It's like you walk in, they open the door for you, there's mom, sir, it's very kind of friendly. But then I started realizing actually service is not that good, because employees here don't have much power to make things right. So when things go wrong, like they, sorry, sir, like service is actually not better. It's maybe in some ways worse. So just the more you learn, the more sometimes your first impression really changes.
The first time you landed in the Philippines is in Manila, and you stayed there for
5 weeks, the first trip.
5 weeks, and you stayed in Cebu for the whole 9 years.
Basically.
And then here in Dumaguete. So how would you contrast the three? What's the huge differences between these three cities?
If you live in Cebu for a long time, it feels like a real city. And then you go to Manila every once in a while, and you're like, Cebu's not a real city. And just Manila is just orders of magnitude bigger, more chaotic, more dense, but also more sophisticated in some ways than Cebu. Cebu's kind of heading in that direction. So they're just like this, but then Dumaguete is like, I would say Dumaguete is not that dissimilar from Cebu. It's just a lot more chill. It doesn't really I don't think it's missing many things that Cebu has. Just the traffic. But yeah, I would say Cebu and Dumaguete feel a little closer than Cebu to Manila. Manila is just a smaller ballgame. It's crazy.
Could you see yourself living here for 5 more years, 10 more years?
Dumaguete?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really want to invite more people here, but stop coming here now. It's a good place. I like it. It's really nice.
What can you say about the growing number of the expat community in Dumaguete?
So, like, honestly speaking, my 9 years in Cebu, especially the first, and pretty much the whole time, I really didn't spend much time with expats. 95% of my friends were Filipino, and I just totally worked with Filipinos, like very few expat friends. And the ones who I was friends with were usually kind of entrepreneurs or founders of companies. And I formed probably an observation, just pattern recognition of a lot of times foreigners coming to Cebu are very complaining. Like a lot of times it's like people just, all they did was, not everybody, but a lot of people would just kind of come here, and when you talk to them, they just complain about things. And I always felt like, well, you don't have to be here, like, why? And then I'd get sucked into it, so I kind of distance myself sometimes from expats. But coming here to Dumaguete, percentage of the population of expats is way higher here than anywhere I think I've been in the Philippines, really.
Even in Cebu City?
Percentage of the population? Oh my God, yeah, it's way higher here. Raw numbers, I don't know, but like you just see more foreigners because it's a smaller place and there's smaller population, but you just see foreigners everywhere here. In Cebu, you see people. If you go to Ayala, you see certain people like these hangouts, right? A lot of times people are just traveling, backpackers, permanent residents of Cebu, foreigners. To me, it's just nowhere near. I think it's way higher here. So what can I say about it? I actually have been pretty surprised here in 1 year. I've met a lot of really, really high quality people. Like I've met some amazing friends from different places that I think very highly of, that I think bring a lot of value to this place. They care about this place, and very interesting people to talk to. There's quite a few of them that I've met. So And then there have been some pretty bad experiences where I've seen foreigners really abusing this place and being very disrespectful to people, which kind of bothers me, but we get both.
What year was that when you first stepped into DUMAGUETE?
Last year.
Oh, only last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I've been here many times over the 10 years in the Philippines, like 9 years living in Cebu. I probably came here on average 2 or 3 times a year for different reasons, but I just started kind of really liking it, and yeah, so just decided to move here.
When was that very first time
When I
you visited here?
sorry, you were saying when was the first time I really stepped foot into DUMAGUETE?
Yeah,
Maybe 2015 or 14 or 15.
2015,
I
okay.
think.
Have you seen a lot of changes since then?
I didn't know it that well, so maybe I can't compare it at all, but it seems like a little bit more traffic than years ago.
Infrastructure-wise?
Noticed, well, they're working on roads here. I think roads in Negros are better than Cebu for sure, overall. Internet's good here. Infrastructure seems fine.
What about the number of expats? When you were here?
From my memory, so much more now.
So much more.
I think. But you're from here, you know better than me. So. I remember it being just, my memory was like just a motorcycle place. Like everything was motorcycles. I don't remember the traffic being so congested with cars. Is that accurate?
It is true.
Okay.
It's like the last 10 years or at least the last 8 years,
Yeah.
there's like an influx of cars on the road. Like it was nothing like that 10 years
I think the
ago.
Philippines middle class is growing, and also lending practices are changing here, so people are getting loans easier because
Any household that has income of like let's say 30,000 can afford to finance a car, because I think now maybe monthly payment is, I don't know, 10.
yeah, they're giving people these really long-term loans that are probably really bad if you do the math. Places I love the most, I'm kind of partial to mountains, so my very top of my list, Sagada. Baguio's pretty cool, but it's more of a city. Anything in the Cordillera, it's just like up in that mountain range in the northern Luzon is special and very different from the rest of the Philippines. I would say to Filipinos, you need to go there if you haven't been there. It's like Sagada, Banawe. Yeah, beautiful. And Bukidnon in Mindanao, Malaybalay, and just some of that whole area is just incredibly beautiful. Other places I would recommend going. There's tons of spots to go. Kind of depends on what you like. Siargao's pretty cool, but so many. I don't know.
Could you live in these places that you've mentioned?
Live in them? No.
Why not?
Well, me personally, I'm trying to create things in the world that I need access to. Good internet and some basic stuff of a city. I don't think I could live in. I don't know. Could I live in Sagada? It's pretty far. Like it's 14 hours to Manila by road. So Siargao, internet's not good enough. No. Livable wise, if you're actually looking at places to live, other than here, which I obviously chose. I think there's tons of livable places in the Philippines. It just kind of depends on what you care about, and I don't think I have a lot of recommendations there.
All right.
I would note this one thing. Like, I've been all around this country. There's been very few places that I haven't been, and it's just a very, very, very safe place. Like, make some good friends in a place if you're afraid of the place or whatever, but if you aren't making enemies, this country's so safe.
Yeah, because there are talks about, how safe Philippines is for tourists, especially Westerners.
Yeah, how safe is the part of the city you live in the U.S. if you're from there? Like, I would say the U.S. I mean, just statistically speaking, the U.S. is more dangerous than here.
Have you been to Mindanao?
Yeah, many times, all over the place.
Could you say that it is actually a safer place? I mean, a safe place for people like you?
1,000% people like me. Foreigners, white people.
Foreigners.
Yeah, Davao, I've been there maybe 10 times. Very clean city, totally 1000% safe, and a little boring, I think. Huge wide roads, like huge place, but I think it's kind of sleepy. But been to CDO, Cagayan de Oro, Butuan, Iligan, like I said, Bukidnon. I've been to Tandag in Surigao del Sur, which is way, way, way far away. They're all great. A little bit hesitant to be a sales guy for this place because I think it won't be what it is if there's too many people here, but anyway, that's how it goes. Yeah, truth is, I think it's just an amazing place. Valencia, for me, is perfect because it's cooler, access to the mountains, rivers, waterfalls, but then you're in a triangle where you can be at the port to go to Cebu in 14 minutes, you can be in Gawing in 20, nice places to snorkel. You could be in the city at the boulevard in 12, so it's really, well, depending on what you drive and how fast you drive, but yeah, it's the most livable place I've ever been in, for me.
Many Westerners are saying that Philippines is too Americanized and that we don't really have a culture here. So, as an expat living here for 10 years, is there or are there any specific aspects or culture in the Philippines that stands out?
I could talk about culture all day long. That's the topic I would most be interested in digging into. I guess I'll comment first on the statement that the Philippines is Americanized, and for sure there's a lot of elements to this culture that are heavily, I mean, it's got plenty of evidence of American, being friends with the U.S., looking up to the U.S., wanting to be like the U.S., but a lot of places in the world, I think, do that too, and it's not always good. But and compared to some other places, many other places in Asia, maybe it's one of the most Americanized places in Asia, or Westernized, but I don't think for me, it's not. I see obviously there's a ton of very old Spanish influence. Before that, there's influence from, Muslim occupation. Like, this place was actually ruled by Rajas for a long time before Spain, and then there's a lot of influence from Chinese culture. A lot of Chinese business people here kind of run things, so it's not. I don't think for me, it doesn't seem like the Americanized part of the culture is dominant necessarily. I don't know, this is my perspective, but culture-wise, things that stand out? I guess if I was talking to somebody who was coming here for the first time, or they were thinking about moving here, or they're thinking about doing business here, there are a lot of things that I've learned over the 10 years, especially doing business here, running teams, working with people, going really deep in psychology with people, just trying to understand. There were things I discovered, things that I became aware of after being here for quite a while that shocked me, that I just didn't see at first.